Good morning, watch nerds, ladies and gentlemen, and cats and dogs. As most of you may be aware, Orient Star watches are Orient's premium line. This model is the AU0004B, and it should be noted that this is a JDM model, but that doesn't mean you won't be able to pick it up in another country. However, it may not be that easy. Now, some people have compared this with the sister company's watch, the Seiko Sabo 33. Personally, I don't see much of a resemblance. Now, I've owned 3 Orient watches over the years, with the Komatsu probably being the best. It was a nice looking red diver, but at 42mm I found it a little bit large. I also thought the bracelet was rubbish, and the bezel felt a little bit cheap as well. Other than that, it represented decent value for money, and it certainly was a good looking watch. And welcome to my unpaid and unsponsored review of the Orient Star AU0004B. And this is the box it came in, considerably more premium than their normal line. Inside is a nice swing tag, some instructions nobody reads, and a 2-year warranty. And this is my watch of the day. It's the Ixtal 5303. It's my only direct homage, but what a beauty. Unusually, I'm going to start with the price, because although this watch isn't particularly expensive, it's dearer than most watches that come from Orient. The best price I've found is £519 from a retailer who also sells through eBay. Otherwise, you can buy one directly from Japan. However, with the postage and the duty added, you may well be approaching the price of a new one from the UK. Now, for what it's worth, I bought this good used one from eBay for £285, but that was after some fairly fierce haggling. It should be noted though, used Orient Stars rarely become available in Blighty. So let's have a look at the dimensions, and these are my measurements. The case is 38.5mm, the lug width 20mm, the depth 12.5mm including the flat sapphire crystal with AR coating, and the lug to lug is 46.8mm. Now, once adjusted to fit my 17cm wrist, it comes in at 135 grams. In my opinion, the watch weighs fractionally larger than the dimensions indicate, but not by much. It was the unusual dial that initially drew me to this watch. Incidentally, it also comes in blue or white as well. The dial is a very deep gloss black, which looks fantastic against the polished wedged indices. That said, the 12 and the 6 index are Roman numerals, which I don't normally like, but for some strange reason I think they suit the watch. Under the 12 o'clock is the power reserve meter, which you're either going to love or you're going to hate. I think it looks great and it gives the watch some personality. Above the 6 o'clock is an applied Orient logo with Orient Star and automatic printed below that. At the 3 is a framed date window, but I'm not convinced going with the white date wheel was necessarily the right thing to do. That said, it's kind of grown on me. The hands are a sort of Dauphine in style, although they are flat at the top with dugouts for the lume. Now, on the subject of lume, there are also dots above each indices, but being a dress watch, the lume is neither particularly bright or long lasting. Let's have a look at it anyway. The case in its finishing is where you can really see the difference between a standard Orient and an Orient Star. Now the fixed bezel is polished, and very nicely polished at that. The tops of the lugs and the case sides are horizontally brushed, and there is a polished transition between the two. All in all, the case is beautifully executed, and you can see where some of the extra money's been spent. Here is a picture of it sitting on the back of my 17cm wrist. Flipping the watch over, you can see the screw down exhibition case back, which contributes towards its claimed 100 metres of water resistance. You see, although this may be a dress watch, it certainly has a sporty feel to it. Incidentally, the rear crystal is mineral, but I suppose it doesn't really matter on the back of a watch. As usual, there's some details engraved around the sides. Through the exhibition case back, you can see the watch's in-house F6 N43 movement. Apparently this is Orient's most premium movement, and an upgrade on the YM55, which I actually rate quite highly. It's got 22 joules, it ticks away at 21,600 beats per hour, it's got 50 hours of power reserve, it hacks and it hand winds. It's meant to be very reliable, and if regulated correctly can be surprisingly accurate. I can tell you now this actually is running at less than +1 second a day, which frankly is quite amazing. But let's have a look at how it looks on the time grapher. There we are. Now this movement's new to me, and I've got to admit I'm quite impressed. The rate's excellent, the beat error is very good. The amplitude looks a little bit low, but that might be a characteristic of the movement. Now I've put the watch on the time grapher, dial up, dial down, 45 degrees, and it stays very constant, so the positional variance is very good. As you would expect, the 6.8mm push-pull crown is nicely knurled and signed. It operates the movement without issue, and the winding is very smooth and precise. So moving on to the bracelet and the clasp. Well, they're both actually quite good and very comfortable. However, compare them to a decent micro brand, or even a San Martin for example, and they fall a little bit short. That said, they're certainly better than the normal offerings on a budget Orient or indeed a Seiko. The female end links are solid and they fit perfectly to the case. Now the links are primarily brushed, although there are two fine polished lines travelling the length of the bracelet, which makes it look a little bit more dressy. Now although it looks like a 5-link bracelet, the links are actually one piece. Now it tapers down from 20mm to 18mm, then back up to 19mm for the clasp. Adjustment is made via push pins, and the sizing was actually quite straightforward. The side clasp is half milled and it's got 3 micro adjustments. It's also got double pushers. Now I think the size is just about perfect for this watch. I should say, although I haven't tried this on any straps, having watched the relative time video on this watch, it does look great on a whole combination of different ones. So is there anything I don't like about the watch? Well, not much. I would have liked to see a high beat movement in it, but as I don't think Orient make one, that would be difficult. Anyway, this one's running extremely accurate. I don't know really what I'm talking about. Finally, as this is meant to be a sporty dress watch rather than a dressy sports watch, perhaps it would have been even nicer if it was a millimetre or so smaller, but that really is just personal taste. All in all, this is a really nice timepiece. I think the polished indices against the black gloss style look really good, and the bracelet, although not the best I've seen, that's very good as well. In brief, if you can get hold of one of these, especially at the right price, I don't think you're going to be disappointed. So that brings me to the end of this review. If you've enjoyed it, please click on the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already, or I'll send the lads round. Leave your comments below, and enjoy the rest of your day.